Welcome, and thank you for joining the channel. Please help this channel by liking and subscribing. We really appreciate it. There are no ads on this video. If you have a scary story you would like me to share on this channel, comment below and your story will be featured in a video. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy these creepy encounters with the paranormal, accompanied by rain and thunder. The murder board is plastered with photos of victims, 7, all staring back at us with horror-filled eyes, each neck sliced clean across the jugular. The crime scenes were a nightmare. Spotless, as if someone had walked in, killed without leaving a trace, and then vanished into thin air. Every damn body told the same story. Always indoors, and every door and window locked from the inside. The city was teetering on the edge, with every paper screaming about the latest ghost killer. Dyer sat across from me, rubbing his temples. Whoever's doing this isn't just lucky, they know exactly what they're doing. I leaned forward, interested. You look like you're dying to say something. Dyer stared at the board, eyes bloodshot, his fingers drumming rhythmically on his desk. Think about it. Locked rooms, no forced entry, no prints, nothing left behind. They aren't a ghost. They're someone who knows procedure, knows what they're looking for. I could see where he was going, but I let him talk. He'd always been more thorough. Always piecing things together, things that others would have missed. You know the strangest part? Dyer continued, voice low. The blood's always fresh. The body's still warm. Every time. I shifted slightly in my seat. He continues. You think the killer would rush, make a mistake, but they don't. Not even a drop of blood out of place. They know exactly what they're doing. The victims didn't even flinch. No panic, no fight, Dyer muttered, his eyes distant. They never saw the killer as a threat. I was fidgeting with the water bottle in my lap. What exactly are you getting at? Dyer glanced at me, holding my gaze for a long moment as if weighing his next words. The victims were random, no personal connections, no patterns. So, do you make a random person drop their guard? They trusted the killer? Exactly. Whoever did this had authority, someone they'd instinctively obey. Who would random civilians trust like that? The silence hung in the air like a weight. Like a cop? Someone like us? Dyer nodded. You're thinking one of us. He hesitated, then lowered his voice even further. Smith. Whoever it is, they're part of the investigation. First on scene, removing evidence before anyone notices. Smith's always first. Disappears for a few minutes. Says he's checking the perimeter, but I watched him. He's too careful, like he's hiding something. I nodded slowly, taking it all in. And have you told anyone else about this? He shook his head. I don't have concrete evidence. I trust you to help me with that. I will, I affirmed. The grave was shallow, the ground soft and pillowable from the recent rain. Dyer's body lay motionless at the bottom, his face still frozen in the expression of betrayal. Too smart for his own good, I thought, throwing the last shovel of dirt. Thanks to him, Smith knows to be more careful now, or we're both finished. The whole world was poisoned for war. Everyone I knew, including my parents, were in on it, rooting and ready for the Big Bang Part 2. That's when the twins came. The men who looked exactly like me. Dressed in tattered black suits with bloodied and broken faces. Both spoke in a different language from the other, and no one had ever heard either before. Everyone around the world somehow felt what they were saying. And everyone hated them for their utterances. They were warning us, holding a mirror up to humanity, exposing our best and worst thoughts, making us feel naked in front of each other. No thoughts were private anymore. And everyone could finally see how ugly we had become, but also what we could be. Everyone could understand one another. They were begging us to be better, but everyone hated them. They walked the world, phasing somehow from one place to the next. One day in Sydney, the next in Bahad, and so on. Not a single drop of rain fell on earth while they walked. The Holocaust that humanity had been rooting for had paused. All weapons were turned in solidarity against the twins. Nothing worked. They were never even injured. They continued to walk. The people in my community, my parents included, threw me into a cell. They knew that I was just as confused as they were, but the only thing that mattered to them was that I looked exactly like the twins. They all believed that somehow I was hiding my true intentions, that I was part of what was happening. I was beaten every day while the twins continued their journey. It was almost 6 months until the twins were finally killed. The world celebrated together. Whatever effect they had on us was gone. Our thoughts were our own again. The war was back on. That night, I was stripped naked, taken in front of the church of my little town, and beaten. My father pointed a gun at me, while the priest that I had once known since I was a child read the last rites. My father put a bullet in my chest, and as I lay there, dying, the people of my town cheered before the skies turned to nuclear fire. I woke up and the world was ash. The priest's clothes were at my feet. I dressed myself and ripped off the collar. I walked through what was left. I came upon a large mirror standing upright. And as I moved closer, I realized that my reflection was not me. It was someone that looked like me, standing in another wasteland. We stared at each other. I'm Daniel. The man in the mirror touched his chest. Julian. An open door appeared behind Julian, and I turned and saw one also open behind me. Beyond both was another reality. Another chance. I walked through the door and Julian through his. We came together, both understanding what we had to do. I woke up sick one morning, and the cat was gone. I stayed home from work. My throat hurt. The next day, my friend visited me and bring me some hot soup, and he went missing afterward. My throat was killing me. It was like nothing I'd felt before. Swallowing my own saliva felt like swallowing razor blades, and the pain spread to my teeth and jaw, and then face. I went to see a doctor. I waited. When he finally admitted me, and the two of us were in the examination room, he said, "Open wide for me, and let's take a look." Followed by the expression on his face, the unscreamable horror as it shot out from inside me, through my throat, affixed its bulbous head to his face, and suction munched his head and entire fucking body through the tubular flesh pipe of which the bulb was the terminus and whose origin was somewhere inside me. It all happened in the blink of an eye. No blood. Almost no sound. And when the doctor had been fully consumed, the snarl retracted itself through my aching throat, and I closed my mouth. Instead, my first thought was, are there any cameras here? There weren't. I walked out the door and out of the medical center, as if nothing had happened, all the while aware that the doctor was dead within me. Not necessarily, my friend Anna said. Anna taught at MIT and worked for the CIA. What do you mean? I asked. I was voluntarily wearing a still grate on my face. It's possible that this thing, what you call the snarl, isn't actually in you. It's possible, theoretically, that it exists elsewhere, and what you've been infected with is a portal through which the snarl exists. It's space-time to enter ours. This has happened before? Unconfirmed, she said. I want you to meet someone. A spook? Yes. Who else would know anything about this, or have the audacity to even consider the possibility? They want to control us. Who? I can't tell you his name, said Anna. They fear us. They have always feared us. They fear anything they cannot control. You want to lock me up and experiment on me? I told Anna. I want to help you. Remove the mask from your face. Yes. Norman, what the fuck are... We protected ourselves willingly for the first time that night. But the instinct was always there, wasn't it? Yes, from the very beginning. We hunt often in dark, unnoticed places. I am the vessel into which the snarl pours itself. Together, we are pervading its world with the deadness of ours. How beautiful. Its stem, so long it could wrap itself around the earth 1,000,000 times and suffocate it. And how glorious its bloom, all-consuming and ultimate, ravenous. When I open and it unfurls, I can feel the coldness of its world. My eater of people, of memories, of ideas, of civilizations, love and disbeliefs. Until there's nothing left, but we, but us. On market day, a farm boy played cards with a stranger. He carefully watched the man flip cards and beat him at his own game. Well, the stranger said, you want a wish. The boy thought about his life. If his family wasn't so poor, they wouldn't have to work so hard. I wish to be rich, he said. The man looked at him from under the brim of his hat. May wealth find you. The following day, as the boy drank from his stream, he noticed a metallic glint in the mud. Everywhere he looked, the stream twinkled with gold. At first, the gold brought his family happiness. Now they could hire servants and farm hands. They could have fine clothing, and they would never go hungry. They bought land and built a great house. But soon their happiness began to sour. His sisters no longer had to toil long hours in the sun or over hot stoves. They became vain and soon entered unhappy marriages with greedy men. His father, flush with cash, bought a fine horse he could barely handle. It promptly threw him and broke his neck. Grief-stricken, his mother drank herself to death soon after. The boy himself grew into a spoiled young man. His wealth protected him from harm, but not bad decisions. And he found himself alone in the great house, without family or friends. He began to dream of something he hadn't thought about in years: the card game. A dark certainty fell on him. His time was nearly up. His paranoia grew and grew, but it did not prevent the arrival of the law, who came to collect on his bad debts and illegal investments. The housemaid opened the door to a group of armed men who surged inside and turned the house upside down. Using the chaos to her advantage, the maid pocketed some jewelry, but then a firm hand grabbed her shoulder. "Take this one too," said a man in a wide-brimmed hat. She's stilling. Stunned, she found herself in a jail cart with her former employer. They spent weeks in a filthy prison, dignity and riches stripped away. After endless dark days, they were taken to be hung. The bright sunlight hurt her eyes, but didn't hide the jeery crowd, or the broken teeth of the executioner's grin as the rope fell upon her neck. When they dropped, the man died instantly. His neck snapped like a twig. But the girl was too light. She thrashed at the end of the rope, her face turning purple as her vision faded. Her eyes landed on a man in the crowd with a wide-brimmed hat. In the hot, sun-baked square, the devil watched the hangings with cool detachment. The man had been a long con, but this girl was a nice bonus. 2 souls, 1 job. Bored, he beckoned to a man nearby. "She's gonna take a while. Want to play cards while we wait?" It's hard to find the right words after what happened. I call her Clara. She's in the kitchen, standing there, staring at the knife on the counter. Her back is to me, but I can feel it, the distance between us. The wall she's built that I can't break through. I'm trying. God knows I'm trying, but she won't let me in. She doesn't turn around. Only the bitterness of silence filled the air. I can't stand it. It's like I don't even exist to her anymore. "Kara, please," I say, louder this time. "I'm sorry for everything." A memory flashes, her face twisted in anger, the fight, my hands holding her head, the wall. I shake my head, trying to get rid of the memory. I didn't mean to, I whisper, more to myself than to her. I wasn't thinking straight. I didn't hurt you that bad. Right. Clara finally turns. My breath catches in my throat. Her eyes looked so hollow, so devoid of any emotion. The sparkle in them was gone. "I'm sorry," I stammer. "I didn't mean it. I just... Please, Clara, talk to me, please." I take slow, careful steps towards her. She leans against the kitchen wall, just beside the blood stain. A stark, unforgiving reminder of what I've done. Her arms are crossed, her gaze sharp enough to slice through steel, and it's aimed right at me. The way her eyes track my every movement, the tightness in her jaw, it sends shivers down my spine. I stop just a few feet away, unsure if I should come any closer. "I just want to talk," I continue, my voice small, pathetic. "We've always been able to talk, right?" She doesn't say a word, but her silence screams louder than any argument we've ever had. It's suffocating. That's when it hits me. She's not angry. Anger would mean that there's something left between us worth saving, but this is something else. It's final. "Please," I whisper, taking one more step towards her. Just talk to me. Finally, she speaks, her voice so soft, so cold that it sends a chill straight through me. There's nothing left to say. Her words hang in the air, cutting me down. They're not harsh, not loud, but they hit me harder than anything she's ever said, because they're empty. I'm trying here, I say, my voice trembling now. I'm trying to make it right, please. Make it right? She echoes, her tone almost mocking, but still so calm. You can't make this right. I know I messed up, but we can fix this. We can start over. I'll change, I swear. She leans in, just close enough that I could feel the icy edge of her breath. No more chances, she says. Then she collapses. It's slow, almost graceful, and that's when I see it. The blood. Pulling beneath her head, soaking into the carpet. What have I done? It's been 29 years. Tonight, when the clock strikes 1, it'll be the 30th anniversary. We promised to try and we never did. You can't just erase something like that. Jacob came by today. He looked different, tired, thinner. He didn't say anything, just stared at me like he wanted to speak but couldn't. He hasn't spoken much in years. None of us have. The news will cover the anniversary, like they always do. An accident, they call it. That's what the world believes, a storm. A collapse. Nothing unusual. But we know the truth. The rain started again tonight. Cold and heavy. The same rain that fell that night. The kind that chills you to the bone. Every drop feels like it's pulling something up from the past. I haven't slept well in weeks. When I do drift off, I dream of them. Watching. Always watching. I wake up soaked in sweat, my heart racing, but there's no one there. We didn't mean for things to go so wrong. We didn't know. When we found it, the door, we should have just left it alone. Left it shut. We should have vaulted it within an inch of its life. It wasn't meant for us to see, to open. But Jacob said it would be fine, said we could look just for a moment. The others are coming tonight too. We do this every year. Meet, drink, smoke, pretend we're fine. It doesn't change anything. Each time the air feels heavier, like it's pressing us down. Each time it feels closer to the end. The lights flicker now, and I feel the tremor in the floor, like something moving underneath us. It's subtle, but I know it's there. Jacob sits across from me, his hands shaking as he tries and lights his cigarette, his eyes hollow as he watches the clock. We all feel it, the weight of what we did. The hand ticks over, followed by a single chime, and I hold my breath. Suddenly, there's a loud knock on the door. Slow and unnerving, deliberate. Knock, knock, knock. We all freeze. This has never happened before. The door flies open on its own with a sudden whoosh. The others stare into the darkness, their eyes blank, seemingly seeing nothing. But I see them. The figures standing just beyond the light. They look like them. They glide over the threshold, 10, 50, thousands of them. I watch in horror as one of them turns to black smoke and enters Jacob. Another is heading in my direction. 30 years ago, we lost the ability to speak. This time, we will lose everything. And so will you. I should feel something, right? Regret? I long for the days when regret squeezed me until I screamed, until I felt empathy, agony, something. When I killed my first children, it hurt. A pang of regret, a tumor of I shouldn't have done that bleeding into my brain, but the more I birthed them and killed them again and again and again, the pain dulled. Now I have 3 darlings in front of me. Tessa, my first baby, glares at me from the chair, struggling against the ropes. I see so much of myself in her. They were all doing so well, but here they are in the slaughterhouse. Tessa's frantic eyes find the scarlet walls, my old darlings in trails strewn across the cold concrete. Ben, my second darling, thrashes and screams, tied back to back with Tessa and my third darling, Omegan. I cradle their faces and whisper it's okay. Straightening up, I grab my laptop from the floor. If I get 500 more followers, I'll let you go, I say, smiling as I run my fingers through Ben's hair. He snaps at me like an animal. Omeg stays silent, her small sobs making my chest ache. I can use her tears. I tell Omeg to sob harder, and she does, burying her face in her knees. Tapping the screen, I give them an ultimatum. Tessa's wide eyes reflect the dim light. Make mommy famous, I tell them. Then you can go back upstairs. But the numbers won't move. Every empty comment section, every stale follower count makes me claw at my hair. Even when I tell them I'm holding my own children hostage, that I will kill them, there's nothing. No comments, no likes. I refresh the page until my thumb moves on its own. Eventually, my hurricane thoughts drag me back to the basement. I slash Ben's throat, dismembering him and dumping his body into trash bags. I feel nothing as his blood pools at my feet. Then I get a comment. Ben is amazing. Oh my god, I love his character. Fuck. Tessa screams and Omeg sobs harder. I drop to my knees, pull out his dismembered parts, and reassemble him with trembling hands, the duct tape clinging to my skin. He's not perfect. I even tweak him to match the commander's expectations when his eyes open. His agonizing screams beg me to kill him again. I force him back into the chair and await that second comment. My bloodied fingers dancing across the keyboard. Another comment flashes up on my notifications and my stomach twists. Why'd you bring back Ben? He's not the same. The likes stop, the comments, then the hits. All of them stop. I kill my darlings once more. I pour gasoline over their heads, ignoring their cries, and dropping a single lit match. Orange flickers in my eyes, my babies burning to nothing but I'm already creating new darlings inside my head. They will be better. I pick up my phone, tapping the drop-down menu. Are you sure you want to delete this post? I laid next to my wife, one arm holding her tight, the other hand laid on her stomach, feeling the little kicks of our baby against my hand. We had decided before her falling pregnant that we wouldn't find out the sex, and I was glad of that decision. A surprise waiting as we met our son or daughter. I kissed my wife's neck and whispered, "Not long now. I love you so much." I felt her smile as she replied how much she loved me too. As she stopped speaking, I felt someone, or something, breathe against my ear as it spoke the words, "One heart, for the wrongs must be right." I sat up, panic starting to grow. I knew what that meant. It also meant I knew that moment that our baby is a daughter. "Sweetie, we have to go to the hospital now. It's urgent." She turned to lay on her back, looking up at me. She laughed for a few moments. Her eyes told me she thought I was joking, before her face twisted in a tortured expression of pure agony. "Fuck," I thought to myself. "Come on, let's go," I said, trying not to show my own panic. I can't remember much of getting to the car or the journey. She was crying the whole way. I knew this had to be excruciating for her. I'd heard the stories. We reached the hospital. I didn't even bother to park the car. I jumped out and carried my wife into the ER. "My wife, I need help. Something's not right with this baby." Doctors and nurses came running, I suspect not because of what I said, but because of my wife's screams of torture. They took her into a side room. I held my wife's hand, tears streaming down my face. I knew I was losing her. I could feel it. It became apparent within moments that there was no heartbeat to be found. They quickly moved to the performing an ultrasound. I saw the doctor frown as the baby showed on the screen, just as I knew my daughter had no heart. I felt shock wash over me. I'd always hoped I'd be one of the lucky ones who escaped this fate. You see, I'm a pediatrician. Early on in my career, I made a mistake that cost the life of an infant. Now, that thing, whose name I can't even bear to write down, had come to serve its form of fucked up justice, taking my daughter's heart to right the wrong. We aren't the first, and we won't be the last. You can't fight this monster. It strikes where we can't protect our babies when they're unborn. If you're a pediatrician, listen to this story, please. It could happen to you. Physically, my wife will be fine. Mentally, how do you explain something taking our daughter's heart from inside her womb? There was only one rule. Don't open the door until the buzzer sounds. This rule was printed in yellow on the door itself, along with the following. Take a pamphlet. Welcome to the world's most intense escape room experience. Settle in, introduce yourselves, try to get comfy. You're welcome to try the door. This is, after all, an escape room, but you'll find it quite impossible to open prematurely. It is held shut with powerful maglocks, which will not disengage until the buzzer sounds at midnight on October 31st. That's 13 days from now. About 312 hours. There's no timekeeping devices in this room, and you left your electronics in the locker outside, so you'll have to guess at the passage of time. On that note, it is believed that the average person can survive 14 to 21 days without food, so fatal starvation won't be an issue for you during your stay, but hunger will, and it will be magnified by the paranoia of time crawling without any measure. So try to keep your heads. Don't eat each other, no matter how hungry you get or how forgotten you feel. One other thing. On the subject of time, we're going to kill the lights 2 hours after your entry. So take the grand tour now, before you're plunged into the long darkness. You'll see our modest escape room is largely unfurnished. The walls and floors are mostly bare concrete. However, aside from the door, there are 2 items worth noting. First, the sink. The water is safe to drink. The extra wide drain can accommodate some solids. Second, the knife on the wall is very real. We'll leave it to you to decide whether someone should hold it for safekeeping. Good luck. Have fun. Just type in your agreement, Mom. It's almost the deadline. This is your last strike. What is the big fucking deal? You don't understand. What I do understand is that everyone else agrees. Everyone else I know is being rewarded from Constance. You're going to be punished even more because of your fucking pride. I didn't raise you to use your language like that. I don't have time for this. My mother wasn't even looking at me. She was getting ready for work. Unfortunately, there wasn't any other time when I could speak to her. I was in school 7 days a week, and she was working 3 different jobs 7 days a week. This was my only time to try and get through to her. If you were a little more loyal, you wouldn't have to work so much. She didn't answer. She knew it didn't have to be like this. But she was so pig-headed. She refused to make our station better. She credited it to be a single mother. No one was going to make her say something she didn't believe. Mom, please, just on the Constance, and give them what they want. It'll take you 5 seconds. And what will it cost me? What kind of example am I to my daughter if I lie about something so fucking stupid? What will it cost you if you don't play along? Everyone else is happy, except for people like you. You know the sky isn't red, right? Mom, just put in your ID and type it into the terminal. The sky is blue, Virginia. Why do I need to agree that the sky is red? Because some people see it that way now. Those people need help. Well, unfortunately, that's not how the Constance sees it. Fuck the Constance, Mom. I look to the family terminal in the corner. I focus on the microphone. She sees the panic on my face, and she smiles. Do you see what's happening? Maybe it's our time for a random home speech inspection. Afraid to speak. Soon, you'll be afraid to think. That's crazy. Really? She finishes buttoning her uniform and walks to our Constance terminal. She speaks into the microphone. The sky is blue. It's blue. You can't make me say it's red. I've had enough. Fuck the Constance and fuck your combinations. Mom. She laughs and goes for her keys. When she opens the door, 2 men in dark coats are there. That was your 3rd strike, ma'am. They beat her with batons until she's broken and bleeding on the floor. I'm frozen in place. The men look at me. Your mother or Constance? Which speaks the truth? Tears run down my cheeks. My mother opens her eyes. I don't know what to do. 3rd strike. Which speaks the truth? She's going to a camp. Which speaks the truth? Constance. The men smile and turn back to my mother. They don't see me grab the butcher knife, and I'll kill them both. No one is taking my mother. And fuck the Constance.